In this video, I'm going to explain project resource management. We'll talk about the fundamental concepts, but also how it relates to project success. This topic is critically important. A study by the Construction Industry Institute found that effective resource management on projects increased overall performance by 20 to 30%. Okay, let's start very simply by defining what project resource management is. To do this, we need to introduce a couple of different players into the role of a project. The first one we've got is the project manager. We've then got the project scope. So that's what the project manager is responsible for implementing. So it's defined with the drawings, the specifications, the project requirements. So the project manager's role is to deliver the project scope. At their disposal to do this, they've got a whole lot of different resources. So these resources might be excavators, cranes, workers, management staff, all these different things. So how does the project manager do this? Well, the project manager ensures the right resources end up in the right place, in the right time, in the right amount. That's the core goal of project resource management. All these resources, excavators, cranes, workers, management staff, the role of the project manager is to ensure the right resources end up in the right place, in the right amount, in the right time to deliver the project scope. The project manager is not the one doing the work. They're not the one pouring concrete, driving a crane, operating an excavator. The project manager's role is to ensure the right resources end up in the right amount at the right time. So if we define this using the definition from the PMBOK, resource management is the process of planning, allocating, and controlling the resources required to complete a project successfully. So with these resources, it's about planning, allocating, and controlling to achieve the project successfully. Okay, so why does effective resource management matter to the success of a project? Well, each of these elements we're going to expand on in a later video, but just to quickly summarize, effective resource management is going to ensure there's no bottlenecks to our project resources, so there's no constraints. We're going to still be able to achieve the project schedule. It's going to reduce the cost because we're not going to get wastage and inefficiency. It's going to avoid quality issues because we're using the right resources for the right tasks. We're not going to have issues like defects and rework. And then finally, because we're avoiding resource constraints and we're using our resources efficiently and effectively, we're going to ensure the project finishes on time. So effective resource management helps with achieving all of these different outcomes. Now let's talk about some of the different types of resources used on projects. It's important to understand the different types early on while we go through the project because it's going to help you understand the goal of resource management. If you understand the types of resources we're using in your mind, it's going to help solidify the way we have to manage these resources to achieve the project objectives. The first type of resources we have, and likely the largest dollar value component of your project resources, will be human resources. So human resources can be skilled labor, so people physically doing construction works. They can also be project managers, so people managing, supervising the works, things like project engineers, health and safety representatives. So these are support or management staff. And then finally, we've got subcontractors, so people not directly employed by our organization, but working on behalf of other companies that we've outsourced portions of the project work to. Next, we've got material resources. So these are things like construction materials, so concrete, steel, electrical equipment, mechanical equipment, these sorts of things, and also consumables, so temporary materials that are used up during the construction process. Then we've also got equipment. So we could have heavy machinery, things like cranes, excavators, concrete pumps. We could have transport vehicles like cars, utes, buses, trucks. We could have tools, testing equipment, so all sorts of different equipment and vehicles. And then we've got financial resources. So everything on projects costs money. All these other different resources are going to eat into our budget. And as our project manager, our responsibility is to effectively manage the budget so we deliver the project scope for less than we originally planned. So it's important to also be aware we do have limited financial resources. Similarly, we also have a limited amount of time to complete the project in. So we're constrained by the amount of time we have for different activities. And we have to be careful with how we're wasting time and allocating time to different activities so we ensure that we finish the project within the fixed finish date. And then we've also got information resources. So these are things like knowledge or project data. We can then put these resources into two key categories. So we've got internal resources and external resources. So internal resources are resources available within the organization that we have already at our disposal. We don't have to buy them from elsewhere. And we've also got external resources. So these are resources external to the organization. So things like suppliers, subcontractors, other things. Internal resources we'll acquire through the internal processes to our company. External resources we acquire through external procurement processes. So we need to get quotes, sign contracts. Okay, now at a high level, let's look at the resource management process. The first step in this process is identification. We first need to identify what resources we need to complete the project. Second step is acquisition. We need to acquire these resources, so through the procurement or purchasing process, or whether that's through internal negotiation processes. We then need to manage these resources. So once we've got the resources, we need to manage them effectively. It means making sure they're allocated to the correct project activities at the right time. The final step of the process is we have to manage risk. We have to address the uncertainty that matters during the resource management process. Okay, let's quickly summarize project resource management and how we've introduced the topic. So, resource management is the management of the wide range of the different resources required to complete the project, and it impacts all of the measures we have for project success. So cost, schedule, quality, scope. All of these different outcomes are impacted directly by the resources we use and how we choose to manage them. The process of project resource management is heavily integrated into other project management areas like procurement, scheduling, and cost management. So in the next video, we're going to go through how project resource management fits into all of the other elements of project management.